Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me again. So yesterday's video, at the end of yesterday's video, if you've not watched that, I will link it to the end of this video. At the end of that video, I started talking about why the UK is such a target to the Russians. And I said, it's probably a video I should do independently on my own. So as a standalone video. So what I'm going to talk about now is that, why that is. So first of all, the UK and Russia have got a long history of being Cold War adversaries. The UK essentially is the United States' vanguard. You know, they're the front runner. We're basically an unsinkable aircraft carrier for the current world superpower. When you think about these power structures, as one power structure rises, the old power structure that's currently in place, the United States, it's almost inevitable that there'll be a huge conflict. It's called Thucydides' trap. I'll do a Wikipedia link to that in the description to this video. But basically what that says is it goes through history, and it just points out all the incidences when this has happened. And I don't think there's many circumstances when a rising power has never had to go directly into conflict with the long-standing superpower. So there's lots of incidents we can talk about. We can talk about the assassinations on British soil. We can talk about, the Cold War. We spoke on the Cold War yesterday. What I want to really tie down now is the main reason that the Ukrainians were able initially to thwart the Russian advance in February 2022. So Britain was the first country to give large-scale military aid to Ukraine with the NLAWs, which are, is it NLAW or ILAW? I think it's NLAW. So the NLAW is basically it's a handheld rocket launcher system, anti-tank system, whatever you want to call it. Now, it's designed specifically to take out tanks, and some of the technology on that system is absolutely phenomenal. I believe the warhead is made in Switzerland, the components are made in Japan, then all the other bits are brought back to the UK and it's assembled in the UK. So it's basically, it's a UK system. Now, the UK gave, I think, all their stocks to the Ukrainians before this just before this invasion. They then went there with their training teams. They trained all the Ukrainian soldiers of how to use this. Now, the reality of the conflict initially in Ukraine was that the other anti-tank systems weren't working. They didn't have the capability to work. What I mean by that, the Javelin, which everybody was raving about, what is a better system? The Javelin can hit targets up to 3 kilometers. Now, the problem there is you can't use that in a built-up area. You can't use it as realistically as direct line of sight, because the missile comes out, it hits a rocket, it goes up, and then it comes down, which you can't do in a built-up area, in towns, in cities. If you're up close and personal to these tanks, you just can't do it. You don't have enough space, which is where the NLAW comes in. So the Ukrainians were utilizing the NLAW and getting really close to these Russian tanks and just taking them out to such a state that there's a vodka company that did a bottle of vodka with a Ukrainian holding one of the NLAWs. It's pretty cool. I'll try and if I can find a link, I'll put it in the description. In fact, I may even put it as a thumbnail of this video. So basically that's how the Ukrainians were able to thwart the initial Russian attack. The problem with these NLAWs is they're expensive and they take time to build. Now, the way that the speed in which the Ukrainians were using them, they're all gone. They've not been replenished. It's over now, all right? So unless we can figure out a way to replenish these systems a lot quicker than we've ever been able to fix them before, produce them before, it's just not going to happen. And like every war, guys, all right, it always turns into a slugging match, which is what's happening now, which is why the Russians, they do have the front foot now, because their military-industrial complex is in full swing. They're in a war economy, and they're building cheap munitions that they can build fast. And all the stuff that they need, components, raw materials, facilities, they're all inside Russia. Now, if you think about what I just said about the rocket launcher systems, I think it's Sweden, the NLAW, the rocket the warhead is made in Sweden, the components are made in Japan, then they have to be shipped to the UK to be assembled. So there's a huge chain of, you know, a chain of reliability there, and any one of those chains failed, then the whole system's failed. So, you know, and with the rising costs of everything, you know, it just becomes very difficult to build these systems. Whereas in Russia, they're building, you know, cheap bombs that can be produced quickly, not as high quality, but you know what? It's better to have a low quality bomb than no bomb. Anyway, that's a slightly different topic. So some of you, well, there was a comment in the comment section, obviously, about this guy, this Russian shill, Scott Ritter, I think his name is. There's another guy I want to put into the same bracket as well. What's his name? He's the other one. He's the other guy who's always Colonel McGregor, Douglas McGregor, whatever. Yeah, Douglas McGregor. Now, first of all, these people are ex-US military, and they've spent a lot of time in the US military. And the US military has nurtured these people and brought them on and spent money on them. And I just think it's very disrespectful that they've turned against the US military, and they are, like, you know, they've been paid by Russians now. Now, I don't really know that much about Scott Ritter, or Ritten, whatever his name is. But Douglas McGregor, he is a piece of work. I mean, I could probably do a dissing video on Douglas McGregor for about 10-15 minutes. I may actually do it. I'll give you a little snippet now, guys. All right. This YouTube channel is not big enough, but I think our other channel is big enough, and I'm just going with those numbers. Anyway, so Douglas McGregor, basically, he wrote a book when he left the army about the, you know, claiming he won the battle of the 73rd parallel in Iraq, which was basically, you know, I think it was the last real tank battle that we'll ever see in the world, you know, in Operation Desert Storm. So basically 90, whenever it was, you know, Iraqi army tanks versus US military tanks. US military won. Now, he's claiming, you know, in his book, he makes it sound out like he was the guy who won it. But the reality is it was Captain McMasters who won that tank battle. He was the guy making all the decisions. He was the guy, you know, who was pushing forwards. Now, Douglas McGregor, he's just angry that he never made, you know, he never made general. So he's come out, he's disgruntled, he's anti-US, he's anti, you know, which I don't know why, because he's one of these people who've taken a lot from the US system. He's got a lot of experience that's been given to him from the US taxpayer. But, you know, he's come out now, and he's making a living by trashing the West. And he's one of these people. Now, if you hear this anywhere else, this is what I always think of. When people say that, you know, Russia was provoked, can you use that as an excuse? Say, for example, you know, there's a violent incident in a domestic setting, and you say, oh, I was provoked. And then the police say, how was you provoked? And then you say, oh, they were going to do something. I think they were going to do this. It doesn't stand, all right? So it really grips me and it grates me. And I'd love to debate with these guys, both of them at the same time, you know, about this Russia was provoked. You can't use that as an excuse to invade a country, especially when you say, oh, what was the provocation? And then you say, oh, they were going to join NATO. They were going to join the EU. The Ukrainian people wanted a better life for themselves. That's why they wanted to join the EU. There's no way about it. They were looking at what's happening in Russia. They were looking at the vast amounts of corruption. They were looking at the poverty, how people live. And they were looking probably at places like Czechoslovakia, who are brilliant examples of how a country can develop after it's been part of the Russian system, you know, post-Soviet state. So they're looking at people in Czechoslovakia and thinking, you know what, they've got good healthcare, they've got good salaries, they've got good stuff. The quality of life is better. And the Ukrainians, how dare they want a better life for themselves? They said, well, do you know what? We want to be part of the European Union. We want to be part of this trading bloc. We want to have, we want to have that protection, and we want to have better jobs, etc. Now, if that was the provocation, wanting to do better for yourself, you know, imagine, right, being, you know, and I hate to use this as an example, but imagine somebody being violent to their partner and then saying, why were you violent to your partner? And you saying, oh, they provoked me. And then you saying, oh, what did they do how did they provoke you? And then you said, oh, well, they wanted a better life for themselves. guys, it doesn't wash with me. You know, it just doesn't wash with me. So these people, these colonels or generals or these high-ranking Russian shills that just diss the West, I don't know what to say, guys. We live in a free country. They have free speech. They're entitled to their opinion. But equally, with that opinion that they're entitled to, they should be ready for criticism and they should be ready to answer difficult questions. But they never answer difficult questions. They always go on shows, on talk shows, on podcasts that are very, very anti-West, pro-Russian. And again, it's up to you where your alliances want to be. But guys, that is the reality, all right? When people say that, Russia was provoked, how was it provoked? And then bring that down to a personal domestic setting and say, oh, right, yeah, you kind of can't provoke somebody by provocation. Is not wanting a better life for themselves. It just doesn't work, guys. Guys, that's it for today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to answer your questions because I know a lot of you are putting questions in the comments. I'll do a separate video and I'll just go through all the questions that you guys are asking. I'll try and answer as many as I can. That's it for this morning, guys. Stay lucky, stay safe. It's a lovely day. Go and enjoy the sun. Go and enjoy the weather because summer's coming and hopefully we'll all be here next year. But yeah, I'll do another longer video later on today, guys, and I'll do an update on the questions this afternoon. And me and Sarah will be doing lots of videos on our other platform today as well. So if you've not already, go and like and share and subscribe. Really helps us out when you do that. And I'll see you guys in a little bit. Thank you.